Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we have a brand new Hammond collection figure to take a look at, as we have the Pachycephalosaurus. And this is one that I was definitely excited about, because I love Pachycephalosaurus ever since we had seen it for the first time in the Jurassic franchise. It's been kind of an iconic dinosaur, an iconic member of the Jurassic family, again making its initial appearance in the Lost World Jurassic Park, and it made a very memorable appearance when it smashed that guy straight through the vehicle. But again, it looks really cool here. It's a little hard currently to kind of see it because it's got that window look and the glare is just, annihilating it here. But you can see the rest of the packaging looks pretty much like what you would expect, except up here we actually have the Jurassic Park 30th anniversary logo, which is nice to see that continuing to make an appearance on these. We had seen that on the more recent Ray Arnold and Muldoon releases, but of course I didn't review those because I don't normally review the human figures, once in a while, I guess. But here we have the Pachycephalosaurus, again, the figure on the side with a Lost World Jurassic Park logo right there. And then on the back, you again have an image of the figure itself, as well as some information and a shot of the Pachycephalosaurus, actually from the Lost World Jurassic Park. So pretty cool. Not really too much going on the other side, of course, just the Hammond Collection logo. And then if we look up there, we've again got the Lost World Jurassic Park logo. But definitely excited about this one. Very, very cool new species to enter the Hammond Collection line. So let's pop it out of the box and check it out. So here is our Pachycephalosaurus now out of the packaging. And it looks pretty nice. Overall, it's not bad at all. I really do like the actual paintwork there on the head area, and the sculpt as a whole definitely looks pretty good. We have some somewhat oversized feet for the figure, as you usually do when it comes to pretty much any Mattel release, even though we don't really need them. But one thing that is very exciting about this one is we actually have the ability to, correct the wrists of the dinosaur again. Previously, we've had, with the Hammond collection, just unfortunately pronated wrists on a few of the figures, but now we can actually, again, turn them so that they're more correct as far as the positioning goes, which is really cool. Definitely a plus for this one. And the paintwork looks pretty good. Again, we could have had painted nails on the hands, but we do have painted nails on the feet, and I would have liked to have seen more paint running out on the tail, as always, but that's just a few little minor, normal nitpicks for Mattel releases. Still, as a whole, though, it definitely looks fun, so let's jump to a closer look at it right now. So, starting up here at the head sculpt of our Pachycephalosaurus, you can see that it does contain some pretty nice looking sculpt and detail, some nice looking skin texture and scale detail throughout. We, of course, have that classic dome skull for the dinosaur. That as well includes some nice looking detail. You can see some nice cracks and crevices throughout. I also like that we start out with this nice darker brown around the, dome skull running up here onto the top of the head. It may not be super noticeable from the side, but you can definitely see it here from up above. But as you lead up into the dome, you can kind of still see the remnants of that brown circling out, so it kind of transitions nicely to a really bright tip of the, well, not really a tip, but a really bright top of the dome skull. And it also includes a little bit of a glossy look to it, so it really pops. You can see it definitely stands out. The lights there kind of shining off of it, definitely making it pop very nicely. You can see the eyes painted with an orange, given a black pupil. We again have the coloration there of that bluish tone there around the eye. Pretty much classic Lost World Jurassic Park Pachycephalosaurus colors. As you run up here into the beak is painted with a dark gray. Almost looks like a pavement gray, or maybe even a black. It might just be a black. But it has a nice gloss coat to it as well, and you can also see again that the paintwork of that area looks quite nice. The bumps and everything up here on the top of the head aren't necessarily painted specifically, just that darker brown is basically the coloration of that area. We do have an articulated jaw, though I feel like it's going to be a little bit hard to actually get it open. Maybe we'll get it here. Wow, that's definitely very stiff, so it's starting to move, but that articulated jaw, there we go. That articulated jaw was really stiff, so you can see the tongue on the inside of the mouth, nice realistic pinkish tone in there, as well as a nice gloss coat. Nothing on the inside of the mouth on the upper side, but just the lower side, and wow, that is super, super stiff. So it works, but it's really, really stiff. Probably the stiffest Mattel articulated jaw I've ever encountered. As you begin to move down the course of the neck, you have some more nice skin wrinkles, skin folds and stuff moving down. You also have more of that bluish tone up there in the greenish tone of the primary body color, as well as a lighter tone here for the underside of the throat. We don't see it in the lower jaw, but it does pick up in the throat region and run down here into the chest. As you continue to move down the course of the dinosaur, you see more of those bluish tones again designing through exactly as you see, or at least pretty close to exactly as you see in the Lost World Jurassic Park version. You can kind of make out the spinal column up here on the top and some more really nice looking scale detail throughout. Moving down into the arm, look at the scale detail right there. That really pops in that specific spot. Nice muscle definition as well, but that definitely looks really good as far as that scale detail goes. And then you move down into the hands. The hands look okay, I guess. Again, we really could have benefited from some nail paint there on the fingers, and since this is a premium line, like an adult collector's line, even though obviously children would still buy it, but I really feel like there should be more focus on the paintwork of these figures. Like, we should have more paint on these than what we are getting, because again, we are missing nail paint on the fingers, which I feel like is definitely just not okay when it comes to an adult collector's line. We can also see that that light tone disappears in the stomach region. Like, that probably should have run the entire course of the underside. If we wanted it to look a little bit better, that would have definitely helped, but unfortunately it stops right here and we have nothing else moving out the length of the tail. But you can see some more nice looking skin texture in the stomach, actually really nice looking skin texture there in the stomach region. And then moving back up here, you continue to see that bluish tone running along the top of the dinosaur. Moving down into the thigh, we have some more of it showing up here before disappearing as we move down the course of the leg. We have some nice muscle definition in the thigh, nice looking skin texture, almost like a scoop-like appearance running down the front of the thigh right there. Down into the shin, you have some nicely sculpted out calf muscles as well, and then you move down into the foot. The foot has pretty much the exact appearance I would expect, with some scoots down the toes, and we do have nail paint, which is a plus. It's a nice dark tone for the nail paint, and it has a beautiful gloss coat, so they shine really quite nicely. You can also take notice to the fact that we have that kind of speckling on this figure that we often see. There are dew claws present, but in typical Mattel fashion, they are not painted, unfortunately. As you move up here, you can see a few more creases and stuff back behind the thigh, a few more down here on the underside. As you lead out into the tail, you can obviously see the area where the tail connects, because the dinosaur does come with the tail disconnected. And we have a few more of those bluish tones here as you move out, like a few stripes of that bluish tone before completely disappearing. And then we have nothing more than the green for the tail, except for we do have a speckling, which you can definitely see pretty abundantly throughout the course of the tail. So, you know, it's pretty good for what it is. It just, of course, needs more paint work. It would have been definitely better to have more. It seems like with these smaller figures like this, they get kind of lackluster with the paint apps, especially when you look at like the Dilophosaurus and the fact that it was missing the white outline, and now this one where it's just kind of missing coloration running along the underside, and could have used more of this blue moving out into the tail and nail paint and stuff. So there are definitely some downsides for the figure, but I'm still generally impressed, and it's, you know, not a bad Pachycephalosaurus. I would say it's definitely the best one Mattel has released quite yet. As far as articulation goes, again, we already saw the articulation of the jaw. You've also got articulation in the head, so you can turn the head. You can actually make it go all the way back if you want. That head can also move up and down, so you have lots of mobility for the head. You can also see now that I push the head down, the neck as well is starting to move. The head goes up very nicely. The head goes down. It can also swivel and moves a little to the left and right, but not really a whole lot. But definitely has some really, really nice mobility for the head and neck region. You can see you can get pretty much any pose you would want when it comes to that head and neck. As you move down into the arms, you can see we've got the shoulder joint, which goes forward and back and out away from the body. Same deal with the elbow. You can see the elbow works very nicely. Of course, I have it swiveled so that the wrists are correct, so now the arm bends like this. But you can, of course, swivel that area again to position the arms pretty much anywhere you would want. You also have hip articulation forward and back. They kind of go out away from the body slightly, maybe. We have knee articulation, but wow, is that ever stiff. That is not moving at all. Let's try the other side. Nope. So My knees are not moving at all on this figure currently. They definitely articulate. We could see the joint right there, but I clearly have to warm those up. I'd imagine they're going to be pretty similar to what we usually get. You can also see they swivel as well, but they're just not going forward and back like at all. And then we, of course, have ankle articulation down here, which can move very smoothly, again, forward and back. It can also swivel, but that helps to give you, again, that nice running pose, and you can position, again, the feet however you would want. And then finally, you have the tail articulation, which goes pretty much all over the place and should be a wire tail. Yes, absolutely. So you can bend and articulate the tail on top of everything when it comes to the Pachycephalosaurus. As far as a size goes, for the Pachycephalosaurus, in the position that it's currently in, lengthwise, you're looking at about 7.5 inches or 19 centimeters. Of course, that can be increased if we put the head out a little further, but as far as a height in this position goes, about 3.5 inches or just shy of 9 centimeters for a size comparison. There is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line next to our Hammond collection Pachycephalosaurus. And you can see it's, you know, right around the size range you would expect it to be. I kind of had hoped it would be a little bit bigger, but in the Jurassic films, you know, in the Lost World Jurassic Park, the Pachycephalosaurus was pretty small in that film, so obviously I would say we're trying to replicate that specific Pachycephalosaurus, which, you know, would give us this smaller size. But for another comparison, there is the Dilophosaurus here next to the Pachycephalosaurus, and you can definitely see that they are a very similar size overall, so this shows you that it fits right there in the smaller dinosaur range that we usually have when it comes to these Mattel Hammond collection style figures. And then for another comparison, we also have the Mattel Velociraptor here, the Hammond Collection Velociraptor, next to our Pachycephalosaurus, again to show you that they are a very, very similar size overall. And then when it comes to a comparison with a standard Mattel Pachycephalosaurus, who for some reason is absolutely not standing right now, so I had to put that little stand under his tail to prop him up, but you can definitely see that the Hammond Collection version is quite a bit smaller than you see on your usual Pachycephalosaurus from Mattel. I would almost say that the normal version of the Pachycephalosaurus has actually a nicer sculpt than the Hammond Collection version does. It just looks like it has more impressive detail and more vibrant detail than what we have on this Hammond version, but I still think I like the Hammond Collection version a little bit more just because, of course, we have more articulation, making it a little more fun, but the, you know, overall sculpt, I think, is nicer on the more mainline version of the Pachycephalosaurus. So this brand new Mattel Lost World Jurassic Park Hammond Collection Pachycephalosaurus is pretty fun. You know, it's not the greatest figure ever, but it's definitely nice. They could have done more with it. They could have done better on it, but it's not bad for what it is. Again, it's something that, like, we had such huge high hopes for the Hammond collection coming in, but I feel like at this point now, we just kind of know what we're going to get. Ever since the Dilophosaurus, I feel like that was kind of like the turning point where we were like, all right, well, we're not going to get everything we want out of these Hammond collection figures, because, again, same situation here, like with the Dilophosaurus missing the white outline and lacking paint running out onto the tail. Pretty similar here, as we are, again, lacking paint running out all the way onto the tail. We have it running about halfway, but it could have definitely had more to make it a little bit more appealing. We also could have used more paint running along the underside of the Pachycephalosaurus. It would have just been nice to actually see that coloration run the entire course of the figure through the underside. And painted nails would have definitely helped on the hands. We do have painted nails on the feet, minus the dew claw. That's something else they really need to work on, is painting that dew claw. I don't know what Mattel has against it, but they definitely hate the dew claw. Outside of those complaints, though, when it comes to the paintwork, the paintwork's pretty decent otherwise. Like, we have the tones of color you would expect for a Lost World Jurassic Park Pachycephalosaurus. They're fairly nicely applied overall. And on top of that, of course, we have some very nice sculpt and detail throughout. As I said, with the comparison next to the older Mattel version, the more mainline version, I feel like the sculpt of the mainline version is a little nicer than what we see with the Hammond Collection version, but it still is pretty nice for what it is. And on top of that, we do have a whole bunch of articulation, as you usually do when it comes to Hammond releases. and the articulation works smoothly outside of the knees. My knees do not move at all in this figure, but I feel like that's just because they're currently stiff, and once I heat them up, they should begin to move. Other than that, we have some nice posability for the figure. The articulation in the head and neck area specifically is really, really nice. Definitely allows for lots of nice posing for your figure, especially when it comes to that kind of head-butting aspect you would want to see on a Pachycephalosaurus. So definitely a fun figure. It's not as great as I was hoping, but it's also nowhere near a bad release. So if you are interested in picking this up, I will include a link in the description to Big Bad Toy Store where I purchased mine. I'm not positive if it's still in stock or not, and I'm not positive when they'll put more up, but again, keep checking the link in the description, and then when it pops into stock, if it's not, you can grab it, and if it is currently in stock, of course you can grab it now either way. So one way or another, again, if you do have the opportunity to grab this, definitely pick it up, and make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.